And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 44 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes.
And make sure you pick up a copy of Kids Deserve It up on sale on Amazon. And if you're waiting for it to come in, you can get the Kindle version for $2.99 while you wait. Today is also the last day to pick up your Kids Deserve It pink t-shirt in celebration of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as V-necks and regular shirts. And you can check out our social media accounts on how you can pick those up.
3 more hours for shirts, and that campaign closes. This week, we got another great guest, but first, we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam Welcome, Director of Innovation and Technology in the Bay Area of California.
I am Todd Nesloney, Elementary School Principal in Navasota, Texas. And our special guest this week is, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yay! Stephanie Frosch. I am from Kaufman, Texas, which is just about 30 miles southeast of Dallas. And I am the Communications Coordinator for our district. But I have a ton of other experience at the elementary level. I've been a kinder teacher, a 5th grade teacher. I've been an administrator for 6.5 years. I left and flew across the Caribbean and taught 1st grade for a year and came back. And now I'm in this new role.
Awesome.
Very nice.
We want to also remind our viewers to participate on social media using the hashtag KidsDeserveIt, as we love seeing what you're learning about.
So, Stephanie, we got a few questions for you. So, other than flying across the Caribbean and teaching, for those of us who don't know about you, tell us about yourself.
Well, like I said, this is about my 19th rodeo. That's what I like to say here in Texas in education. Outside of that, I love spending time with my kiddos. I have a 13-year-old daughter who's in junior high and very active in volleyball and one-act play. And I have a son who currently we're nursing from a concussion because he is a typical boy. And he decided to go headfirst into a wall in PE and without putting his brakes on. So he's 11 and he just keeps us, on our toes all the time. He's a skateboarder and everything. And so they keep us running. But I love antiques. We're in my office right now, and I don't know if you can see behind me or anything, but it's not the typical office. It doesn't have traditional furniture in here. So if I can find it on the side of a curb or at a flea market or an antique store, I love that. And outside of that, I just call myself just like a full-time nerd because in my spare time, what do I love to do? I love to go to professional development conferences, whether I'm speaking or just attending. I love hanging out on social media, learning from people like you, and that's just what I love to do.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, you're also friends with one of our friends and fellow pirate, Dave Burgess.
Yes.
And you try to get us speaking about Teach Like a Pirate and all that's dealing with that. How did all that come about for you?
Okay, so the year before I left to go to St. John, which was 2 years ago, I had picked up a copy of Teach Like a Pirate, and I was a principal at that early childhood campus at that time. And we did a year-long book study for Teach Like a Pirate. And when I got ready to leave and made the decision to move and leave administration behind, leave the only district I'd ever worked for, getting ready to go to the Caribbean and having just come through that book study, I found out that Dave was actually going to be speaking at TEPSA in Austin. And they had also, in the meantime, booked him to be our convocation speaker for the next year. And I just thought, that's not very cool that I am the one that brought this book and have this guy come into the district, but I'm not going to get to hear him speak because I'd never heard him speak at that point. So I attended TEPSA that summer, had the great opportunity to sit in on his breakout session, and that's where we met, and that's where we got connected. And from that point forward, I left, I went to the Caribbean, and I did everything pirate down there. It just seemed like the right thing to do if you're going to go down there and be in a 1st grade classroom. Why not go all full on and be a pirate? So while I was down there, Dave and I stayed connected, and he encouraged me to do one thing that was probably actually 2 things, 2 of the most important things in my career. Number 1, get connected on Twitter, which I dug my heels in on that because I kept saying, ain't got time for that. I don't care what the Kardashians are doing down in Hollywood. It's not my thing. But he pushed me over the cliff and he said, no, you need to do it. And then the other piece of advice that he gave me was go down there and document everything that you do. And so I went down there full on, taught like a pirate, which was absolutely the most incredible year of my career, because I got to take all of my experience from teaching to administration, the good, the bad, the ugly, and put it into that year in the classroom. And so while I was down there, I got a phone call from Dave in the fall. School hadn't been going on for very long, and he said, I've got an opportunity in Abilene, Texas in December. He said, are you interested? And I said, of course I am. And so I flew into Texas in December, which was great because it was my first opportunity to come back to the state that I had just left and get to see some friends and family. But I also did TLAP for Region 14 down there for about 300 Special Pops people. And that's kind of where that got started. And from there, I was booked for several other engagements in Texas and then outside of the state as well.
That's awesome.
Nice, nice. So what do you think is the hardest part about being in education, Stephanie?
I think the hardest part for me is when you go full on and you dive in completely and people don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. I think that, you know, you guys reference this in the book where you talk about when you get the alien look, it probably means that you're doing something well. And other authors, you know, have phrased that differently. You know, Dave talks about, you know, kryptonite in TLAP and everything. I think the hard part is what do you do when you're receiving that criticism? When you know when you're doing what is best for kids and what is best for the community and what's best for your staff, but other people are looking at you in such a way like you're perhaps self-promoting. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to deal with. They don't know how to recover from that. And unfortunately, I think too many people get shut down easily and get trapped by that and don't want to keep going forward because of that criticism that they can get from other people. And I fall victim to that as well. I have done that myself.
Totally.
So what was school like for you growing up, Stephanie?
It was a great experience. You know, I can't say that I had teach like a pirate style teachers, but I did have people that cared about me. And, you know, I had those teachers along the way, the ones that you'll never forget. Probably the year that I'll never forget is the sixth grade year. And that would be the year that I most equate to teaching like a pirate and creating suspense and creating experiences that are unforgettable. But, you know, in high school, it was, you know, a typical experience, I think. I was involved in sports a little bit. I wasn't the, you know, outstanding popular one, but I was kind of that middle of the crowd kid. And I had a good experience. That no regrets.
So if you had one wish for education, what would it be, Steph?
That every kid could walk out of every teacher's room that they had, whether it's, you know, somebody they had for a semester, for a full year, and just say, man, I'll never forget that year. I would want every teacher to be that teacher for that child. And not for us to have pockets of innovation and inspiration in the district, but that every teacher could be that teacher for a child.
I love that.
Nice.
So, Stephanie, when you are having those rough, tough to get out of bed days, what do you kind of do to kick your butt into gear?
Yeah, so I lean on the people that, you know, I'm connected to, and my friends, and I know you guys know this as well. Most of my friends are not in the state of Texas, or certainly not in my district.
That's right.
They're people that I'm connected to initially off of social media, and so I lean on those folks. And sometimes it's no more than a DM or a Vox. Sometimes it's a phone call. But I always ground myself and go back to my why. And I think that unfortunately, like when Simon Sinek talks about it, the golden circle that he references, you've got to be able to articulate what your why is. And I know what my why is. I know why I got into this business. And so when it's hard for me and I'm either receiving criticism or I'm, asked to do a task that's not necessarily something I want to do, or when I was in the classroom, if it was a standard that I wasn't just amped up to teach about, I'd go back to my why. And my why for adult learners and for student learners is to create an unforgettable experience, whatever my task has been, dealt out. And so when I'm tired, when I'm sick, when, the dog's been puking on the carpet all night long, or whatever it is, whatever excuse we can come up with, I go back to my why, and my why is unforgettable experiences for kids and adults.
Nice. Very nice. What are your goals for this coming year?
I am a lead storyteller here in this district. So and it's a new position for us. It's as close to a PR position as we've ever had here in Kaufman. And so I really, really, really want to get our community more connected on social media. We're avid Facebook community, but I'm trying to encourage the other campuses to see, how Instagram and how, Twitter can really, really benefit their campuses, getting different levels to understand that we have students and adults that are out there on different social media platforms, and that when you talk to one group on Instagram, it's different than how you would speak to somebody on Facebook or on Twitter. So really trying to jumpstart that and getting that going in our community. Just like when Dave told me to go down to the Caribbean and, document everything that I do. And I take pictures of everything that I do. And that includes everything that I come across in the district, because I want our families, I want our community, and I want people outside of our district to understand and hear what our story is. I want to tell our story for Kaufman.
Nice.
Well, and I think that's such an important point, because that's something I talk about often with my staff, is making sure that we take pictures of everything that we do. And it's funny because, and I remember this from when I started doing this, if you're not used to sharing on social media, that doesn't even come to your head to take a picture of it.
Right.
So you have to physically set timers or reminders or things to say, I need to take a picture when we do this activity. I need to Periscope this. I need to share this. I need to do what? And then after you start doing that 3 or 4 or 5 times, then it becomes very natural. And your first instinct is always to grab a phone, because now I have several teachers that are like, I didn't understand when I was supposed to share. I always forget. And at the end, I'm like, oh, that would have been great to take pictures of.
Yeah,
but I wasn't even thinking. And in my head, it's like such a natural thing that even with our kids, they're like, are you not going to take photos of this? And we had a big house event on Friday at my campus. And afterwards, my teachers were like, you didn't Periscope it? How are we supposed to go? And I'm like, I was the MC. I couldn't Periscope it.
I
can't do it all. Right.
But they're so used to now of having that direct visual of the thing after the event that even our parents are requesting, like, why weren't there pictures taken? Where's this going? And so you build that kind of community, just like you were talking about, by sharing those photos.
I
agree with that. And I've seen that, just the short time, I took over this position in March after I came back to work. And just since March to the end of the year, and then as this year has started, I've had a lot of community members say, we really love what we're seeing and what's going on. And that's, the proof is in the pudding right there. I mean, they're there. They are hungry for it. They're thirsty for it. They want the information. And, when we can include the photograph, that tells the story. We all know, pictures worth 1,000 words, or the video, even better if you can put that out there.
Nice.
Well, Stephanie, every week we love for our guests to kind of leave a challenge for our viewers. What would your challenge be for this week?
My challenge would be to add value without adding cost this week. And 2 of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm thinking about being in the classroom, but also at the administrative level, you can add so much value without adding cost. For example, I use music for everything that I do. I have so many playlists, and I'm constantly searching for songs. And it's one of those things that can really add value to a lesson or to the mood in a classroom. So I would challenge you, even if you're an avid music user, or if you're in between or not one at all in the classroom, I would encourage you to come up with a playlist or certain songs to go with the lessons that you have ahead for this week and this coming month, because the value that adds to the lesson and creating a mood that goes along with your lesson is infinite. And then another way, you know, I think from the administrative level, one of the things that I did as a campus principal is I took selfies all the time with the kids. And, you know, you can load those up. And even if that's another great thing, even if you don't load those on social media, just the fact that you took 5 seconds to take a selfie with a kid, it makes them beam. And that, again, is adding value without adding cost. So my challenge this week would be to do something. I gave 2 suggestions, but I mean, there's so many ideas that you could do, but add value to what you do this week without adding cost.
I think that's great.
I love that. We were talking about music the other day, and someone's like, what do you listen to in the morning? I'm like, sometimes it's Yo-Yo Ma, and sometimes it's Run D, and sometimes it's Run DMC. It just depends on the mood. You know, one thing about your selfie idea I got from Brad Gustafson when I was a principal, I used to do birthday selfies with the principal, and then kids would just find you. I'm like, is it your birthday? They're like, it is. And oh my gosh, it was like, you don't need cupcakes or anything else. Like, they just wanted that. And even if you didn't put it on social media, you just emailed it to the parents afterwards or something. Like, they just had that archive. It was just it was awesome. Well, Stephanie, everyone for watching, thank you so much for joining us. So great to talk with you. Don't forget to use @KidsDeserveIt and #KidsDeserveIt throughout the week. And our next guest is Jewel Parker Rhodes, an author. Hope everyone has a great week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks again.
Bye, guys.